August is the month most gardeners waste, not because they're lazy, because nobody told them what's possible. The spring garden is winding down, the summer crops are tired, and most people mentally check out and start waiting for next April. But here's what the gardeners who actually know their seasons understand. August is one of the best planting months of the entire year, not in spite of the heat, because of what comes after it. Every seed you put in the ground right now matures in September and October, when nights are cool, days are shortening, and vegetables that would have been bitter in June come out sweet, crisp, and extraordinary. Cold makes vegetables taste better. That's not a gardening myth, it's biology. And August planting puts you in line for exactly that harvest. 12 vegetables belong in your garden right now, and most of them almost nobody else is growing. Number 2 on this list gets sweeter with every frost, and the gardeners who planted it in August are still harvesting in December while everyone else's garden is long finished. Number 9 is one of the most searched vegetables in the country, and almost nobody realizes fall is actually the best time to plant it. 12 vegetables, one window. Let's go through all of them.
Number 1. Cabbage. Cabbage gets overlooked. Most people think of it as a boring, everyday vegetable. That's a mistake. Fall cabbage is different. Cold makes it sweeter, crisper, far better than anything grown in spring heat. Spring cabbage fights the same battle as broccoli. Rising heat pushes it to bolt. Heads split open early. Flavor turns bitter. August planting removes that problem completely. Seeds started now, or transplants set out in late August, mature during cool October and November weather. That's exactly when cabbage wants to grow. Cool air tightens the head, concentrates sugar. The result is dense, sweet, crisp cabbage, nothing like the loose, bitter heads spring planting produces. Timing matters. Most varieties take 70 to 90 days to mature. So now, and you're harvesting right as the first frosts begin. Here's the part most people miss. A light frost doesn't hurt cabbage, it actually improves it. Same starch-to-sugar conversion that sweetens kale. Variety choice helps too. Look for late flat Dutch or Danish ballhead. Both are bred specifically for fall and winter storage, holding their quality for months after harvest. Space plants about 18 inches apart. They need room to size up properly. Keep soil consistently moist, especially while heads are forming. One more thing worth knowing. After harvesting the main head, small side shoots sometimes form where leaves were removed. Not always, but when they do, they're a small bonus harvest most people don't expect. Cabbage is one of the most storage-friendly vegetables you can grow. A properly cured fall cabbage can last months in a cool, dark space. Plant it now, and you're not just growing a fall crop, you're growing something that can carry you well into winter. Number 2. Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts confuse a lot of gardeners. They take forever. Patience is required, but the payoff is worth it. Cold is what makes this vegetable, not just tolerates it, actually needs it. Before frost, Brussels sprouts taste bitter, almost unpleasant. A lot of people give up right there. After frost, everything changes. The same starch-to-sugar conversion that sweetens kale happens here too, except it's even more dramatic. A Brussels sprout harvested after several hard frosts is genuinely a different vegetable. Sweet, nutty, nothing like the bitter mini cabbages most people remember from childhood. Timing is the key. Plant seeds or transplants in early to mid-August. These need a long season, 80 to 100 days to maturity. That long timeline is exactly why most people skip this crop. But it's also why so few gardens have it. Less competition, more reward. Sprouts grow along a tall central stalk. They mature from the bottom up. Harvest the lower sprouts first, once they're firm and about an inch across. Leave the top of the plant growing. New sprouts keep forming higher up the stalk as the season continues. Here's a trick serious growers use. A few weeks before your first expected frost, snip off the top growing tip of the plant. This redirects energy into the existing sprouts, helping them size up evenly all at once. Variety choice matters. Long Island Improved is a classic, reliable choice. Diablo is another solid pick for cold tolerance. Space plants generously, about 24 inches apart. They get tall and need airflow to avoid disease. Brussels sprouts reward patience more than almost anything else on this list. Plant in August, wait through the season, let frost do the real work, and you'll end up with a vegetable most people have never actually tasted at its best.
Number 3. Cauliflower. Cauliflower has a reputation. Fussy, hard to grow. A lot of gardeners avoid it completely. Some of that is true, but most of the difficulty comes down to timing. Get that right, and cauliflower becomes manageable. Spring planting is where most people fail. Rising heat causes the head, called the curd, to button up too early. Small, loose, and often bitter. August planting flips the script. Seeds started now or transplants set out in late summer mature during the cool weeks of October. That's exactly the environment cauliflower wants. Cool temperatures slow growth down just enough. The head forms tight, dense, and pure white, nothing like the small, discolored heads spring plants often produce. Timing-wise, cauliflower needs about 55 to 85 days depending on variety. Plant now, and you're on track for harvest right as the weather turns cool. Here's the technique most beginners skip: blanching. As the head starts to form, gather the outer leaves up and tie them loosely over the top with twine or a rubber band. This blocks sunlight from reaching the curd. Without blanching, sunlight turns the head yellowish and slightly bitter. With it, you get that clean, bright white color and milder flavor most people expect from cauliflower. Some newer varieties are self-blanching, meaning their leaves naturally curl over the head. Snowball and Amazing are two reliable choices for fall planting. Space plants about 18 to 24 inches apart. Keep soil consistently moist, especially as the head is developing. Inconsistent watering is one of the most common reasons heads turn out small or oddly shaped. Cauliflower rewards attention to detail more than most vegetables on this list. Get the timing and blanching right, and you end up with something far better than anything sitting in a grocery store bin. Number 4. Parsnips. Parsnips are one of the most underused root vegetables in home gardening. Most people have never even grown one. That's a missed opportunity. The reason comes down to patience. Parsnips are slow, really slow, but cold is what makes them worth the wait. Just like carrots, parsnips convert stored starch into sugar once temperatures drop. Except with parsnips, the effect is even stronger. A parsnip pulled after a hard frost or even after the ground has partially frozen is noticeably sweeter than one pulled in warm weather. Some gardeners say the flavor is almost nutty, almost like a sweet potato crossed with a carrot. Timing matters here more than almost anything else on this list. Parsnips need 100 to 120 days to mature. Sow seeds now in early to mid-August, and they'll be ready right as the coldest part of fall arrives. Germination can be tricky. Parsnip seed loses viability fast, so always use fresh seed from this year, not leftover seed from a few seasons ago. Keep the soil consistently moist during germination, which can take 2 to 3 weeks, much longer than most root vegetables. Soil prep matters too. Parsnips need deep, loose, rock-free soil to grow long and straight, similar to carrots, but even more sensitive to compacted ground. Rocky or heavy clay soil produces forked, stunted roots. Here's the part most people don't know. Parsnips can actually be left in the ground through winter in many climates. A layer of mulch protects the root, and you can harvest them fresh throughout winter, sometimes even better after sitting in cold ground for weeks. Gladiator or Hollow Crown are two reliable varieties for home gardens. Space seedlings about 4 to 6 inches apart once they emerge. Parsnips ask for patience most vegetables don't require, but an August planting sets you up for a root vegetable that gets better the longer cold weather works on it, sometimes lasting you well into winter.
Number 5. Leeks. Leeks are one of the most patient crops you can grow, and one of the most rewarding once you understand their timeline. Most people never even try them because they assume it's complicated. It isn't. It just takes time. Unlike a lot of vegetables on this list, leeks don't rush toward a single harvest point. They grow slowly and steadily through fall, and in many climates, you can leave them standing in the garden well into winter, pulling them fresh as needed instead of harvesting everything at once. Leeks need a long season, typically 90 to 120 days depending on variety. Starting in August might sound late, but for fall and winter harvest varieties, this timing works perfectly. The plant spends the cooling months of fall building size, and cold weather actually improves the flavor rather than damaging it, giving you a milder, sweeter version of the sharp onion bite leeks are known for in summer. One technique separates a good leek from a great one: blanching the stem. As the plant grows, gradually mound soil up around the base of the stalk, or use a length of cardboard tube around young seedlings to block sunlight from reaching the lower stem. This keeps that portion pale white and tender instead of green and tough. Do this every couple of weeks as the plant grows, building the mound gradually rather than all at once. Spacing matters too. Give each plant about 6 inches of room and plant them slightly deeper than you would most vegetables, since that depth is part of what encourages a longer white stem to develop underground. Here's what makes leeks especially valuable for a fall garden: cold tolerance. Many varieties can handle temperatures well below freezing once established, and a layer of mulch extends that tolerance even further. This means you're not racing against a single frost date. You can harvest leeks gradually from October through the depths of winter in many regions, pulling exactly what you need for a soup or a stew that same night. Flavor-wise, a leek harvested after several frosts is noticeably milder and sweeter than a summer-grown one, closer to a delicate onion with a subtle sweetness than the sharper bite people often expect. This makes them incredibly versatile in the kitchen, whether sautéed as a base for a soup, roasted whole, or sliced thin into a quiche. Leeks ask for very little active effort once established: consistent watering, occasional mounding for blanching, and patience while the season does its slow work. In exchange, you get a vegetable that can genuinely carry your kitchen through the coldest months of the year, standing ready in the garden long after most other crops have finished.
Number 6. Garlic. Garlic is different from everything else on this list. You're not planting for a fall harvest, you're planting for next summer. And most gardeners have no idea fall is actually the right time to do it. Spring-planted garlic almost never performs as well. The bulbs stay small, cloves don't separate properly, and the whole plant just never builds the size it needs. Fall planting solves that completely, because garlic needs a cold period to trigger proper bulb formation. Without it, you get a plant that looks like garlic but never turns into a real bulb. Timing is specific here. Plant in October in most regions, but preparation starts now. This is the month to plan your bed. Order seed garlic if you haven't already, and get your soil ready. Seed garlic, not grocery store garlic, is important. Grocery store bulbs are often treated to prevent sprouting and may carry diseases that grocery garlic isn't screened for the way seed garlic is. Once planted in fall, individual cloves go into the ground pointed end up about 2 inches deep. The clove sends down roots through the cold months, sitting mostly dormant through winter, And then, as the ground warms in spring, it shoots up fast, building a full bulb by early to mid-summer. Here's the part most people miss entirely: garlic scapes. If you grow a hardneck variety, the plant sends up a curling flower stalk in late spring called a scape. Cutting this off rather than letting it flower redirects the plant's energy back into the bulb, resulting in a noticeably larger harvest. And the scapes themselves are edible, with a mild, garlicky flavor that's excellent chopped into a stir-fry or blended into a pesto. Variety choice matters. Hardneck varieties like German Extra Hardy or Music are better suited to colder climates and produce those edible scapes. Softneck varieties store longer and tend to do better in milder regions. Space cloves about 6 inches apart in loose, well-draining soil. Once temperatures drop hard in late fall, mulch heavily. A thick layer of straw protects the cloves through the coldest part of winter and helps regulate soil temperature. Garlic asks for something almost no other crop on this list does: patience across seasons rather than weeks. Prepare your bed now, plant in October, and by next July you'll be pulling full, cured bulbs that store for months, something the grocery store version never quite matches in flavor or size.
Number 7. Rutabaga. Rutabaga confuses people right away. It looks like a turnip. Tastes different though. Sweeter, denser, more like a cross between a turnip and a cabbage. That makes sense, actually. Rutabaga is a natural cross between the two. Most people have never grown one. Fewer have even tasted one fresh. Cold is what makes rutabaga worth growing. Same starch-to-sugar conversion as turnips and parsnips, except the effect lasts longer here. Rutabaga can sit in cold ground for weeks after maturity, getting sweeter the whole time. Unlike radishes or turnips, which turn woody fast, rutabaga holds its quality. Timing needs attention. This is a slow grower, 90 to 100 days to maturity. Plant now in early August, and it matures right through the coldest part of fall. Germination is straightforward. Sow seeds directly, about ½ an inch deep. Keep soil consistently moist until seedlings establish. Here's the part most people get wrong: spacing. Rutabaga needs more room than turnips, about 8 inches between plants. Crowd them, and the roots stay small and stunted. Thin seedlings early. Don't wait. Overcrowded rutabaga rarely recovers, even with good soil and water later on. Harvest timing is flexible, which is rare on this list. Once the root reaches 3 to 5 inches across, it's ready, but leaving it longer, even through a light freeze, only improves the flavor. A layer of mulch extends that window even further. Some gardeners leave rutabaga in the ground well into December, pulling fresh roots as needed through early winter. American purple top is the most common variety, and for good reason: reliable, hardy, and widely available as seed. In the kitchen, rutabaga roasts beautifully. Mash it like a potato, or cube it into a stew, where it holds its shape far better than a potato would. Rutabaga rewards exactly what most gardeners skip: patience and proper spacing. Give it both, and you get a root vegetable that keeps improving in the ground long after everything else has been pulled. Number 8. Fennel. Fennel confuses a lot of people at the garden center. Feathery green top, swollen white bulb underneath. Most have never grown it, let alone tasted it fresh. The flavor surprises people too. Mild licorice, almost anise-like raw, but that sharpness softens completely once cool weather takes over. Summer-grown fennel often bolts. The heat pushes it to flower too early, and the bulb never really develops. August planting avoids that problem entirely. Seeds sown now, or transplants set out in late August, mature during the cooling weeks of September and October. That's exactly the environment fennel wants to bulb up properly. Timing-wise, fennel takes about 65 to 90 days, depending on variety. Sow now, and you're on track for a harvest right as the weather turns crisp. Here's a trick that makes a real difference: blanching the bulb. As it starts to swell,
Mound soil gently up around the base. This keeps the bulb pale and tender instead of tough and fibrous. Do this gradually over a couple weeks as the bulb develops rather than all at once. Too much soil too fast can smother the plant. Florence fennel is the variety to look for specifically. Regular fennel, sometimes grown as an herb, doesn't bulb the same way and won't give you the vegetable you're after. Space plants about 12 inches apart. Keep soil consistently moist, since inconsistent watering is one of the most common reasons bulbs turn out small or split. Don't waste the fronds either. The feathery green tops are edible, with a milder version of that same anise flavor, excellent chopped into a salad or used as a garnish. Fennel rewards a little extra attention with something almost nobody else is growing: crisp, mild, and genuinely different from anything else in a typical fall garden.
Number 9. Cilantro. Cilantro has a reputation problem. Planted in summer and it bolts almost immediately. Flower stalk shoots up, flavor turns soapy and bitter within days. Most people give up on it right there. Assume it's just a difficult herb. It's not. It's a timing problem. Cilantro is actually a cool season plant. Summer heat is what ruins it, not the plant itself. August planting fixes this almost completely. Sow seeds in the second half of August once the worst of summer heat starts easing. Germination takes about 7 to 10 days. The plant establishes through early fall, right as temperatures start cooling. Once cool weather sets in, cilantro slows down its rush toward flowering. That means longer harvest windows, fuller leaves, and none of the bitterness that comes from heat-stressed summer plants. Timing-wise, you can start harvesting leaves in as little as 3 to 4 weeks. Cilantro is genuinely one of the fastest herbs on this entire list. Here's a detail most people miss. Don't wait for the plant to get large before cutting. Harvest outer leaves regularly and new growth keeps coming from the center. Succession planting works well here too. Sow a small patch now, another in 2 weeks. This keeps a steady, fresh supply going instead of one plant that eventually bolts and stops producing. If a plant does eventually bolt and flower, don't pull it right away. Let it go to seed, and you've got fresh coriander seed for cooking. Essentially 2 herbs from one plant. Cilantro needs almost nothing complicated. Loose soil, consistent moisture, and a planting window that respects its actual preference for cool weather over heat. Get that right, and it becomes one of the easiest, most useful things in the entire fall garden.
Number 10. Endive, escarole. Endive and escarole confuse a lot of people at first. They look similar, related plants actually. Both belong in a fall garden. Summer heat makes them bitter, genuinely unpleasant if grown in the wrong season. Most people who tried them once and gave up probably grew them at the wrong time of year. Cold weather changes everything. The bitterness that defines these greens in summer softens dramatically once temperatures drop. What was sharp and unpleasant becomes balanced and interesting. August planting sets this up perfectly. Seeds sown now or transplants set out in late summer mature during the cooling weeks of fall. That's exactly when these greens taste best. Timing-wise, most varieties take 80 to 90 days to mature. Sow now and harvest lines up right as the weather turns properly cool. Here's the technique that makes the biggest difference: blanching. A week or 2 before harvest, gather the outer leaves up and tie them loosely with twine, or cover the head with a light cloth. This blocks sunlight from the inner leaves. Without blanching, the leaves stay dark green and more bitter. With it, the inner leaves turn pale yellow-white and noticeably milder, almost sweet by comparison. Escarole has broader, less curly leaves than endive and tends to be slightly less bitter even without blanching. Curly endive, sometimes called frisée, has that distinctive frilly texture people recognize from restaurant salads. Space plants about 12 inches apart. Keep soil consistently moist, since inconsistent watering pushes these plants toward bitterness even in cool weather. These greens are almost never grown at home, which makes them one of the most unique things you can put on a fall table. Cold does the real work here.
turning something sharp and forgotten into a genuinely restaurant-quality salad green.
Number 11. Snow peas/snap peas. Peas confuse a lot of gardeners because most people only think of them as a spring crop. Fewer realize fall peas can actually outperform spring ones, and for a very specific reason. Peas hate heat. Spring plantings race against rising summer temperatures, and once it gets hot, the plant stops producing and the pods turn tough. Fall planting flips that timing completely in your favor. Sow seeds now in early to mid-August. As the plant grows through September, it's moving into cooler weather instead of away from it. That's exactly the environment peas want during flowering and pod development. Cool temperatures are what actually make peas sweet. Just like the bush peas mentioned earlier, snow peas and snap peas develop their natural sugars best in cool conditions. Hot weather pushes the plant towards starchy, bland pods instead. Timing-wise, most varieties take 55 to 70 days to mature. Sow now, and you're harvesting right through the cooling weeks of October, sometimes into November, depending on your climate. Here's a detail that matters more than people expect: support. Peas are climbers. Give them a trellis, netting, or even a simple stick structure to grow up. Without support, vines sprawl on the ground and pods get damaged or rot from soil contact. Snow peas are harvested flat before the peas inside fully swell, eaten pod and all with a crisp, sweet bite. Snap peas are picked slightly later, once the peas have filled out but the pod is still tender enough to eat whole. Check plants every couple of days once they start producing. Peas mature quickly, and pods left too long turn tough and starchy fast, similar to how radishes decline if left in the ground past their window. Space seeds about 2 inches apart along the base of your support structure. Keep soil consistently moist, especially as pods begin to form. Fall peas reward the gardeners willing to plant something most people only think about in spring. Cool weather does the real work, and the payoff is a crisp, sweet harvest almost nobody else's garden produces this late in the year.
Number 12. Storage onions, fall sets. Onions confuse most home gardeners because everyone assumes spring is the only time to plant them. Fall planting is actually how a lot of serious growers get bigger, better bulbs the following summer. This works differently than scallions. You're not harvesting green tops this fall. You're setting up bulbs that overwinter in the ground and finish growing next season, similar in concept to garlic. Fall-planted onion sets get a massive head start. The bulb establishes a strong root system through the cooling months of fall, sits mostly dormant through winter, and then explodes into growth as soon as the ground warms in spring. The result is a noticeably larger bulb than anything planted fresh in spring. Timing matters here. Plant onion sets, small, immature bulbs, in September to October in most regions, but preparation and bed planning starts now. Choose a variety bred specifically for overwintering. Not every onion type handles cold the same way. Look for hardy varieties like Walla Walla or any packet labeled specifically for fall or overwintering planting. Regular spring onion sets aren't bred for the same cold tolerance and often fail or bolt prematurely. Plant sets about an inch deep, pointed end up, spaced 4 to 6 inches apart. Once temperatures drop hard in late fall, mulch heavily with straw, the same way you would with garlic. This protects the developing root system through the coldest stretch of winter. Here's what surprises most first-time growers. The tops will often stay small and green through winter, sometimes even dying back partially in extreme cold. That's normal. The bulb underneath is what matters, and it's still developing beneath the surface. As days lengthen and spring arrives, growth accelerates fast. By early to mid-summer, you're harvesting full-sized storage onions, ones that cure well and keep for months, often outperforming anything planted fresh in spring. Storage onions ask for the same patience garlic does, planting across seasons instead of weeks. Prepare your bed now. Plant sets in fall, and by next summer you'll have a harvest that most spring-only gardeners never quite manage to match. 12 vegetables, All of them going in the ground this month, all of them ready for a real harvest right when everyone else's garden has already checked out for the year. Which one are you planting first? Drop it in the comments, and if you're comfortable sharing your zone, add that too. Someone gardening in your exact climate is probably reading right now. Subscribe for more of this every week.